feeling in control around food, feeling good about the body that you're in, being free from food noise and anxiety around food. Are these things worth having? Well, obviously I'm biased, but for me and the people that I work with, absolutely. But pretty much all meaningful change requires tough decisions. So that's what we're talking about today. My name's Marcus, and I've been a coach for 20 years. The last 5 of those years I've spent working almost exclusively with people who are struggling with disordered eating, primarily binge eating, chronic stress, and relationship struggles. Today I'll be joined by my friend and co-conspirator Annabelle, who joined me here on Strong Not Starving last year to come on board to help with things like production and video editing. Annabelle has been on her own really difficult journey with food and body image and has some really amazing insights, so I can't wait to introduce her to you guys today. And before we jump into today's conversation about hard choices, I just want to start by saying every single difficult choice that I've made on my journey, I would say has been 100% worth it. So I don't want to frame this as this big scary thing where we're talking about nothing but hard choices, because although, yeah, that's what we're talking about, I just want you to know that, at least in my experience and the experience of literally hundreds of people that I've worked with at this point in time, those hard choices are worth it. They lead to better situations. And more often than not, it's avoiding hard choices that leads to some really troubling stuff. Now, the landscape of food and body image and weight loss is changing fast. So our next episode here will be about GLP-1s, weight loss, and food noise. But no matter how the space changes or what we're faced with in our world, there will always be difficult decisions that we're going to have to make. It's pretty unavoidable. So that's why we're here sharing some stories about this today. And one quick bit of news before we get into today's chat. I'm running a free online seminar in February around the topics of disordered eating and GLP-1 informed training and exercise. I'll be covering how to have a productive and successful relationship with exercise. Some of the things that I'll be talking about will be going against the grain of popular practice, the best ways to get started and common mistakes to avoid, and the mistakes that some intermediate to advanced gym goers are making and how to fix these mistakes. Sometimes even when we make it past that beginning phase and we get into a decent rhythm, it can be easy to hit a point in our training or in our relationship with exercise where the things just seem to flatline. So even if you've been at the gym for a while, even if you've been training and exercising consistently for years, this is for you. So if you want the details for how to access that seminar at zero cost, I'm going to be sending out some emails over the next few weeks with details and invites. And you can get access to those emails by following the link in the episode description. So make sure you grab those. Without further delay, here's this week's chat with Annabelle. Tough decisions that have paid off on the road out of struggles with food. I'm really grateful that you mentioned this topic as something that we could chat about today, because I think it's a really important one. Because the road out of struggles with food, it's not all rainbows and candy floss. There are some difficult choices. There are some really challenging moments. And you mentioned how important our environment is in what we're experiencing and how sometimes there are difficult choices to be made on our way to a better place. So I'm wondering, when you think of difficult choices that you had to make on your journey, what's one that comes to mind?
So I will start with something a bit on the lighter side. A huge thing for me was that I connected binge eating to watching shows like TV series and movies. I would never binge if I was just sitting, doing something like reading or something like with my hands, like drawing or sculpting or whatever it is. It was always watching something that triggered the binge, or I actually planned a binge and I also planned what I'm going to watch alongside with it. And so I had to really work on this connection between watching and eating. And that was very hard for me to do, like eating without distractions. It's still something very difficult, but I started with replacing, because my thing was watching Netflix. So I started by replacing Netflix with listening to podcasts, specifically podcasts that talk about like personal development and really thought-provoking things that I could actually focus on and reflect on as I'm listening. So it wasn't as passive as watching a show. But this was so hard. I deleted Netflix for a while, and then
Bold
I met
move.
with yeah,
Very
and then
bold
I met
move.
very, but I just knew that I had to do it. I didn't have it in me yet, and I still struggle with this. Like for anyone listening, don't think that I am just like figured everything out yet. But um, I know myself enough to know that if I start watching something, even with the most intentions, however much I plan, I'm gonna binge watch. I'm not gonna just like watch one episode and that's it. It's gonna like be a full on binge watching thing. So working on it, but yeah, definitely not there yet. And I knew I had to just delete it. Like I wasn't gonna like set a rule and follow it when it came to that.
Mm,
Um, so that was I deleted Netflix, and then I was 2 months binge and purge free. And
mhm.
then I met my brother. We live in different countries, and when we met, we were on vacation together, and he told me about this website where you can stream watch things for free. And I'm like, oh
Oh,
no, like this is not a subscription thing. I can watch it whenever I want. It's there, it's available. And I actually did start watching this website, and I relapsed, for a lack of a better word. I relapsed back into binging and purging, and that one I really had to like get out of by myself. I just had to, like make a choice. You either want to recover or not. You know that if you watch this website, you're gonna be binging. So let's just not go there whatsoever.
mm,
And that worked. So I had to like really set a rule and like make a decision of like there's nobody coming to save you here. There's always gonna be distraction. If it's not Netflix, it's something else. If it's not this, it's something else. So you make the choice. What do you want to do? And yeah, that did it.
you bring something up there that's really important and a huge topic in the whole binge eating space, and that is the idea of like hard boundaries. And
Mm.
I know a lot of people find this a little bit counterintuitive because all the intuitive eating and recovery literature and everything says to relax hard boundaries with food, specifically, if we want to move away from that good food, bad food, on day, off day, binge restrict cycle. And it's almost, it's quite strange, I find, that that is such a necessary thing sometimes to do with food. Like more often than not, those boundaries can change depending on the person, depending on the journey, and everyone's unique. But it's pretty clear that very, very hard boundaries with food cause more problems than they solve. And yet, with other things that are not food, like alcohol, drugs, binge watching TV, what's being called technology addiction, all that kind of stuff, it becomes a lot more feasible, dare I say, even helpful to go, all right, none of that. And we can draw that hard boundary. And I think it speaks volumes about the difficulty that comes with struggles with food, because obviously we need food to live. We can't just go, all right, I'm going cold turkey from eating. Like we can't do that.
Yeah.
Our environment is loaded with all these different kinds of food. It's going to be around us all the time, et cetera, et cetera. Food is such an integral part of a lot of social interactions, and I could go on. And so it's difficult with food, dare I say, unhelpful to put in those hard boundaries with food. And yet with other things, like, whether it be Netflix for a while or something else, a hard boundary is helpful. I
Yeah.
speak to a lot of people that find that kind of paradox to be really, really counterintuitive or confusing. And I'm wondering how you kind of navigated that, because we've spoken a fair bit. You're actually working behind the scenes on some Strong Not Starving stuff. You're a huge part of this channel and what we do here. And your understanding and experience with recovery, you've got a lot of knowledge. So yeah, I'm curious about how that kind of lined up for
Mhm.
you. But yeah, I'm drawing a hard line with Netflix while understanding that recovery principles in terms of disordered eating and food require flexibility.
To be honest with you, it started a bit with looking back a lot on my childhood and trying to understand where was this obsession with food came from. Because like I can, say for myself, I was obsessed with food, specifically like so-called bad foods that I wasn't allowing myself to eat. So what you're saying about how hard boundaries, 100% to understand. Like it's the more you put a hard boundary on food and label foods as bad or good or whatever that is, the more you become obsessed with it, the more you would want to eat it, at least in my case. And
Mine too.
no. So when I looked back on my childhood, I started understanding a lot of patterns that developed from the way the people around me were behaving around food, the way they were instructing me to eat, sort of, because I was a chubby kid growing up. And there was a lot of restriction put on me in terms of what I could and couldn't eat, how much I could eat, even if it was on the healthy food side. So there was always things that I needed to understand of like I was curious about it, to be honest. A lot of times I say this, knowledge avails you nothing without action, but it does
Yeah.
give you the foundation
Mm-hmm.
to understand what needs to be fixing. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not when I look back at my childhood and the way I was interacting with my parents and so on, I never blame them because I do believe that people are doing the best that they can with the knowledge that they have at the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so I can understand what was going on. And one of the things that I realized, one of the patterns that I had is that whenever I would walk next to a place that sells sweets or cookies or cakes or something like that, I would get this like feeling inside of me that like I have to have this. I have to have this. And when I like that deep into that, I understood that in my head, if I don't eat it right now, then I'm not gonna eat it ever. And this was a very terrifying thing for me to understand, to like face. Like, no, I love these foods. I never don't want to eat them. And so like I would sort of compensate by eating everything that I could get my hands on.
Mm-hmm.
So I started sort of letting myself a little bit eat those things without feeling guilty about it. And another thing that went alongside with that is the fear that I had of gaining weight. So because I associated some foods with gaining weight, I also like was restricting myself from eating them. And so now I'm letting myself eat whatever I want, but I also don't want to gain weight. That created a whole other issue. And so I needed to release this idea of the fear of gaining weight and okay, if I gain weight, what will happen? And I started going over my head like about those scenarios. And it was a very slow process, to be honest, but it really created freedom at the end of the day. And now I eat like the funny thing is I always like think about this that the moment I actually allowed myself to eat whatever I want, how much I want, paradoxically, I do crave these things less now, like the cakes and cookies and all that kind of food, because I do value my health. So I know that if I'm eating something, it's gonna probably come at the expense of something else, or um, because again, like there's so many things that went on kind of like at the same time. So if I am going off topic a little bit, I'm
Oh, that's
sorry.
okay. The paradox that you're talking about, it's one that we can read about in a almost academic sense until the cows come home. But everyone seems to have a different way of finding their path to it. Like this idea that if I label foods as good and bad and think that I can never eat something, yeah, it kind of makes us want that thing even more. And then navigating the weight loss, or not weight loss, the fear of weight gain paradox. The whole, if we are afraid, like deeply afraid of gaining weight to the point where that is influencing our decisions and our emotions, and we are putting foods in a good and bad category, then that really just sets us up to feel a lot of difficult emotions around food choices. It sets us up to have these impossible standards to try and stick to, and to then binge the moment we have something that kind of falls outside the realm of what we could consider to be good, because then suddenly we're making the most of it, because tomorrow, no more ever again. And we could dive into that for a really long time, especially how, when we're accustomed to eating only, quote, clean foods, or vast majority like clean foods, the moment we have something that might be processed or super delicious, that sensory experience hits us like a train, and suddenly it's like a glass of water in the desert and we can't stop. But this is one of those things that is just, it's like common knowledge, but there's that huge difference between feeling and knowing. And the fear and self-criticism around weight gain is something that I know lives at the core of it for a lot of people. Like, yeah, I'm trying to practice giving myself permission to eat these different things, trying to remove the fear around it. But when there's that constant self-judgment, anxiety, criticism around the body, it's really hard to feel kind of neutral and a bit non-judgmental around food when that dialogue is going on the inside.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and something that as well I had to let go of is, if I'm gonna be eating those so-called bad foods, what I used to do in the past is that I would replace one of my meals with that. So, for example, if I want to eat
Uh,
a cookie or a piece of cake, then okay, then I can eat it as long as I don't eat lunch later. Then that's
mm-hmm.
fine.
The
But
swings
this
and
is something that
roundabouts approach.
exactly. So,
Yeah.
like, I had to also let go of that. And so, and I think this is also added to my fear of gaining weight, because here I am eating 3 full meals a day, plus sometimes snacking. And again, it went back to like me thinking, "Oh my god, now I'm gonna gain weight." But then I had to have that dialogue again with myself of, what what if you gain weight? What will happen then? And
Mm.
I like really challenged myself around that, because I paradoxically, I'm somebody who really values my health a lot,
Mhm.
and I never want to, because the body doesn't really need sugar. Like you were eating cakes and cookies, it's
Yeah.
not something that the body needs, but it does need the other nutrients that we get from our normal meals, and I didn't want to deprive my body of that. So if I'm going to be eating anything sweet or something that I really love eating, then it's going to be an addition to the meals that I'm eating.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's a lot of paradoxicals, and a lot of, I guess, also making sense of food. So not that I'm a nutritionist or anything, but I started to really try to understand food, of what the body actually needs,
Mhm.
and try to give my body that, as well as the things that I actually love eating. And I think this is also one of the reasons why the more I gave myself permission to eat those things, the less I crave them, because I'm also really nourishing my body. So it's not something that I feel like my body needs because it's helpful for it, or actually it wants it, but rather it's my brain that wants it more than anything.
Mm. And you mentioned a few moments ago, I'm really curious, you said, when I talked about sacrifices that we make on our way out of binge eating or disordered eating, you said, "I'll share a lighter one first." Immediately, I started thinking, "What's the other one?"
um, okay. On the way to the not the heavier one, there is one more that I want to share, because this one I
Oh, the
still struggle
suspense
with.
is killing me. Absolutely
Well,
killing me. It's okay. Only share what you feel comfortable sharing. It's totally fine.
okay, just because I was thinking about it the other day and I really want to share this one as well,
Please do.
is I started unfollowing people on social media,
Mm.
people that I actually liked a lot, actresses, even musicians, people that I used to like listen to their podcasts as well. And I feel a little bit left out, to be honest. I feel like
Yeah.
the world is moving on kind of without me, because I'm not really on social media anymore as much, or like the people who I'm following are not mainstream. It's a tough feeling sometimes, to be honest.
Very.
Some people have like, newsletters or stuff like that. So I'm like going back to the age of blogging, basically, when people used to send out like emails to communicate with their audience. I'm like,
Nice.
okay, let's communicate via email. If you have something important, I will find about it there. I just don't wanna see the social media women, if that
Mhm.
makes sense. Not that there's anything wrong with them, it's just not what I want, and the more we are like I used to think when I was younger that I am beyond, my environment, that, like, my environment can be shitty, but I will still, like, find the inner strength to overcome everything, and I will think my way out of it, and I will be an independent thinker and so on. But we are social creatures, and our environment really affects us, and our
Yeah.
environment nowadays is also social media, and what we see every single day, the kind of people we see, their values, the thing that they're focused on, we kinda internalize that no matter
Mhm.
what we try to do and or don't do. And you remember how, like, people used to say, "Show me your 5 friends, and I will tell you who you are." And I think this is
Mhm.
the same on social media. Like, show me 5 people you follow or 5 people you listen to their podcast, and I will tell you who you are. And it's the same thing here. So at one point, when I also, like, as part of my recovery, I started reevaluating my values and what is important in life, what do I want, and so on. And I'm like, those people don't really have the same values as me, at least not what they're showing on social media.
Mhm.
And I don't wanna be around that anymore.
Mm.
Um, that was a tough thing to, like, let go of because some people I've been following for years. Um,
It is a tough one.
yeah.
Like the social media cleanse, um,
Mhm.
I find myself experiencing mixed feelings about a lot of the people that are still like, I haven't been on Instagram in quite a long time, but I open it every now and then to check out some people in the fitness industry that I still follow. And like one of the biggest sacrifices that I had to make was leaving essentially leaving the industry that I'd been in since school. So leaving the fitness industry was huge for me. Like my entire resume, aside from a couple of years where I, went to be a full time, like when I went to be a pro guitarist for a couple of years, like that doesn't count. Like outside of that, I was full time fitness industry from the moment I left school. A ton of my friends were there. My entire resume was there. And it was really scary to go, wow, okay, I'm seeing so much dysfunction in this space. And I'm seeing such a massive misalignment of values and so much misinformation that I can't be a part of it anymore. And, that affected me on like so many different levels, on a social level, even just on a financial level. I had to re rebuild my career essentially out of that world, starting from kind of the ground up, which took about 3 years. My income and my wife and I's financial situation took a massive hit. We had to move cities. Like it was something that we agreed on together. We wanted the change, but we had to move cities. We, moved away from all our friends. We had to move somewhere where, cost of living was lower because working in the fitness industry, I was always working in a fairly trendy city in a fairly trendy area so that I could work in one of the trendy gyms where, people were looking for coaches and trainers and everything. So it sounds like a very two-dimensional thing saying I had to leave the fitness industry, but the implications of that kind of rippled out through my entire life. Um, Even to the point where when I moved to the UK from Australia, it was not my intention to leave my family on the other side of the world and move to a town that was actually smaller than my hometown in Australia. Like that was that was not the intention with moving to the UK, but we did have to move out of the city and move somewhere where we could, live on much less for a while. And it was it was weird for me. Thinking like looking around and going, huh, I'm in a town that's smaller than the city that I moved away from in Australia. None of my family is here. None of my friends are here. What am I doing? Like it was tough for a while. And it was in the name of rebuilding from a more values aligned place. and we're in a great position now. It was 100% worth it. But I still experience a little bit of that when I jump on social media to tune into some of the fitness people that I still like hearing from a little bit, especially with the strength and conditioning side of things. I might,
Mm.
you know, listen to an athlete or a strength and conditioning coach or something like that, and then they'll say something about food that makes me go, "Oh, for fuck's sake!" Like, you know, and it's hard changing your environment in this way, social media environment, physical environment, professional environment. It's really hard making these choices, but like you said, our environment, we're not separate from it. Like, I used to tell myself, "Oh, I can thrive and have my own thoughts and feelings no matter where I am. Doesn't matter where I am." And I was like, "That no, it's a little bit of a we can do our best, and the environment doesn't dictate things, but to think that we're not influenced at all by the environment and, those 5 people closest to us and our social media feeds, those things matter."
Yeah. I think that's an incredible thing what you did. It takes a lot of guts to do that. So good for
I would
you. And I'm happy that, like, I think what you said as well, it took 3 years. I think that's what the thing that people usually are afraid of, how long it actually takes to build your life from your values and
Yes.
not from following trends. Because I think most people are successful on social media because they give people sort of what they want to hear.
Mm.
Whereas you know that topics are very nuanced. Every single topic in the world is very nuanced, but people usually don't want the nuance. People want, give me this quick fix that can make my life better immediately.
Yeah, it's gonna
And
take
people,
exactly 12 weeks, no more, no less, and after that 12-week period, all the difficult feelings are gone and you're gonna be happy forever. It's like, no,
exactly.
no, I'm sorry, I can't promise that. What I can say is, like, I would love to say, "Yeah, it was a really courageous move," and everything like that, and, well, sure, maybe it was, but the the real art to making those kind of changes, in my experience, has been making sure that you set up something that is kind of, dare I say, enjoyable to be a part of for a while.
Mm,
Like, there were some big sacrifices that I made, but at the same time, my wife and I were together. We had our pets. We set up a little gym in our garage. We made an effort to be like cooking nice food together and going to nice places for walks and hikes and stuff on the weekend. We were like, there was effort that was put into making the rest of our life around those sacrifices as rich and as full as possible in ways that didn't require huge financial output or anything. So I
mm,
think this thing where we go, "Oh, is it going to take years? Oh, no, how could I possibly do that? I can't do that." And I was like, well, maybe not if you think of those few years as just nothing but this brutal slog where you enjoy not a single thing about your life. But this is where it's important to go, like, yeah, changes are going to be made, but we need to put the emphasis on your life around food and
mm.
pouring energy into things that are going to give you energy back during that time.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And it's so important to remember that like life is not about this a goal that you will achieve in 3 to 5 years. It's about what's happening right now and what I
Yeah.
can do right now to have a happy life, to, do the things that I love doing. It doesn't have to be something huge, but like those very small things. I think really the beauty of life is in the small things that we do every single day. And we can always find time to do those.
What are a couple of your small things that on a daily basis you take a lot of joy in, like the small things?
Going to the gym, 100%. I
Yep.
go to the gym in the morning. Um, I just love it there, to be honest. Like, I strength train and I love the challenge. Like, ugh, love it.
Cool.
And journaling.
Mhm.
I do that also every day before I go to the gym. A cup of coffee.
Mhm.
That's like, in the morning, that's the best.
Nice.
What else? Uh, when my partner and I hug, it's like the best thing ever, especially like if you're working and you're frustrated at work and you just, like, does your wife also work from home?
Yeah, we both work from home now, yeah. That was part of the
Yeah.
the big change that I mentioned, like, she was a manager in a really large gym. I was a booked
Mm.
out personal trainer. We were both working crazy shifts out of our minds, and we were just like, "We can't." So, yeah, we both downsized and shifted all like, moved away somewhere that we could live very, very cheaply while we rebuilt working from home.
That's amazing. So yeah, you probably know, like, they're only one hug away. You're like one door away for a hug. So that's like the best.
Yeah. My wife, my cat, and my dog kind of make their way around our house as a unit. So, like, if there is a knock at my door during the day, it's not just like my wife comes in and says something. It's like this herd of them, like the dog, the cat, like they all just kind of come in at the same time. And there's this little ball of like adorable chaos that is that trio that kind of make their way around the house. And yeah, it is
That's so
it is
funny.
super sweet. But yeah, please, you were about to say something.
No, no, I'm just, listing my favorite moments. Like my partner and I are watching The Office at the moment. So
Hmm.
watching that is so ridiculous and so funny. I love that. I love laughing. So that show is great for that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's
What about
cool.
you?
Small things. My wife, my dog, and my cat. Like
Mm,
they they're my people, you know? And obviously training, really enjoy training. This is gonna sound dramatic, but I spent so many years in just chaos, um, music industry stuff, eating disorder stuff, balancing all that with a career in the fitness industry, drugs, alcohol, in a way that I was still like a high functioning person who was leaning on all these substances and everything like that, and dysfunctional relationships and all that. Like it was all like everything about my life just felt so chaotic for such a long time that these days I will just sit down for a second in my office, like in between calls or something, just listening to an audiobook, particularly anything that's read by Stephen Fry. And I'll just sit for a second and be like, how amazing is it that nothing catastrophic is happening right now? Like how that's literally how I feel. It's just moments of just peace. Like, it doesn't mean that everything about our life is perfect. It doesn't mean that I don't have some financial concerns. It doesn't mean that our house doesn't have some stuff that I'm worried about that, needs to be fixed. And, who am I going to get to fix that? Contractors are hard to find. Where are we going to get the money? And like, what are we going to do, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And, concerns with work and the space changing with the recovery space and GLP-1s and, all these different things are happening. So I want to stress that, yeah, these moments of peace that I'm talking about, they don't hinge on the whole world or even my personal world being perfect. It's
mm,
just being able to sit down and think, okay, right now, in this moment, I'm okay. I'm healthy. My wife's healthy. We're all here under the one roof. There's food in the fridge. It's a good day. That's that's kind of where I'm at.
that's amazing. I think there's so much power in realizing that we are one perspective shift away from having a happy day or like a
Mm,
peaceful day. And it can be confronting for people to hear that what you choose to focus on, because it is a choice after all. We are making a choice. Sometimes it's not so obvious to see it that way, but it is a choice after all. Whether you want to actually take this moment and reflect between the calls, or if you want to reach for your cell phone and scroll on social media and be
Yeah.
confronted with all of that you talked about before.
Mm.
So it is a choice of, hey, I'm sitting right now listening to Stephen Fry, having this moment, thinking about the good things that are happening in my life right now.
Mhm.
Because the bad things, the good things are always going to be there. It doesn't matter what. They just take different shapes and forms.
Mm.
But the choice that we have of focusing on the good ones, that's everything. And
Yeah.
it's so simple, the simplest thing in the world. But I also was relating to so much what you said. Like, I also have debt that was caused mostly by my binge eating disorder that I'm working my way through now. But it doesn't mean that I'm not like having the best time of my life right now,
Yeah.
because I'm in recovery and I'm choosing to focus on what's amazing in my life and the opportunities that I'm creating for myself.
Mhm.
So, like, yeah, cool shit is going on in the background, but I'm looking there, not there.
I'm stoked for you. And I wanna be totally transparent that for the longest time, when people used to tell me, you know, happiness has a lot to do with what you're focusing on, I would get so angry.
Mm,
Like, I
I
was
understand.
yeah, I would get so angry. Um, in my 20s, uh, I was wound so tight all the time, and when someone would suggest any notion of happiness or peace or whatever, it kinda hinges on what you focus on, and I know it's hard, but if you choose it a little bit right now, you can have that. I would just get mad, and I think a big part of that was it wasn't so much what I wasn't focusing on as the things that I was choosing to keep a really tight grip on. Like, I was choosing to keep a really tight grip on relationships that weren't weren't serving me, especially professionally. Like in my 20s, I was choosing to keep a really tight grip on what I thought I had to do and what I thought I had to be in order to deserve to feel good about myself. I was choosing to keep this really tight grip on my existing mental model of the world and what I thought I needed to do, who I thought I needed to be, and sticking very rigidly to a very two-dimensional model of success in my head. And if it doesn't look exactly the way I thought it would look, then it's shit. And nothing will do apart from this specific thing that I have in mind. And of course, when I was holding on to all those things and holding this very rigid idea of what I thought I needed to do, who I thought I needed to be, it was impossible to have space to just kind of go, okay, you can choose to be happy right now. So I think like the process of letting go of things was more important to me, or just as important as choosing where my focus went, because there was just so much chaos and so much noise for such a long time.
Yeah, I completely understand. When you're not ready to change, it's very hard to hear those kind of like statements.
Mm,
And sometimes I think we hold on to certain ideas because we don't know anything else. This is what we were brought up to think or to want to want. Like, these are the things that you should get. If you don't get these things, then you're not worthy or whatever. And it takes a lot to sort of, I wish I could say like, it doesn't have to take hitting rock bottom, but usually this is what it does. Like, it
right?
does require that.
Yeah.
Because we are not going to change unless we are not happy with the situation that we are in.
Mhm.
And in order for that to happen, we need to stop and actually think about it. Am I happy or not? And most of us, and I can say for myself for many years, I was acting on autopilot. This is what I do. That's it. This
Hmm.
is what I'm striving for. That's it. But I don't know, like, exactly what happened in my life that, well, I think it was a mix of things. But at one point, I was like, what do I want, actually? And it's not this. And but this also goes back to your environment. Because if you're surrounded by people who are still striving for those things that are making you miserable, then you need to make some tough decisions, which
Yeah.
goes back to your earlier question.
Yeah. What we have to give up. I know that
Exactly.
for a while I was functioning in the fitness industry, like while being surrounded by people who were weighing and measuring, everything that they were eating. And like, there was so much body checking that used to go on in the gym staff room that it was just like, and for a while I was kind of aware of the dysfunction involved in all of that and could kind of tune out to it. Like, I was focused on my own business, doing my own thing or whatever, but there was only so long I could be around that before I was like, "Ugh, it's just exhausting." So, what was the other thing that you had to leave behind?
Um, well, for me, it was, and this is not actually related to my recovery, to be honest with you. This
Mhm.
is related to a lot of who I am today as a person.
Mm.
I made a decision when I was in my early 20s to cut ties with my family members
Mhm.
because it was very clear that we wanted very different things in life. I think my parents are very good people, but they being around them was very mentally challenging for me. Have you ever read the book Educated by Tara Westover, I want to say?
No, I
No.
haven't.
Highly recommend. Like,
Okay.
amazing book. I finished listening to the audiobook and wow, it blew my mind. There's so many things that she said about her family that I so related to because she also ended up estranged from her parents at the end.
Mhm.
And sorry for giving anybody spoilers,
No.
but so just like to give you a background, mm, her family was Mormon, and I grew up in a very similar situation like that. It's not actually Mormonism, but it's very similar to that. And there was a very fixed idea of what a woman can and cannot do. And I just wouldn't have that. And the reason I think was very different because I thought about this a lot because I used to be a huge bookworm when I was in middle school and high school, mostly because I was very chubby, even though, now when I look at photos of myself from back then, I'm like, you're not fat. You're okay. Like, I just
Yeah.
want to grab myself and hug my younger self, like tell her everything's going to be okay. But back then, I was sort of the outcast. I was like the ugly sheep and the black sheep, I guess you said. And because of like so much emphasis was put on my looks, I kind of like internalized the idea that, oh, nobody wants to be my friend, so I'm gonna stay home and read books because I cannot go outside. People are gonna judge me. They're gonna laugh at me. So I spent most of my middle school and high school sitting in my room reading books. And I think that really opened up my mind that there's something different out there than this environment that I'm living in right now. And so when I could, financially as well, because I had a job, I left and was like really cut ties with everybody for a long time. And that's when I was experiencing, to be honest, a lot of guilt around that, a lot of shame. I didn't tell a lot of people, just a very close a friend that I used to live with back then. And my bulimia got worse, honestly, because it was my way of dealing with this discomfort that I was feeling, along with everything else, with this obsession with food that I had and all of that. And it was really, really difficult. But eventually, like very slowly, I was really exposed to the idea that there's different ways of thinking out there. There are different people in the world. Everybody thinks in their own way, and it's up to me to find who are my people. Like, who are the people that think the same way as me, and sort of like build a family with those people. And again, very difficult decision. I'm not
Mm.
saying that like this should be made lightly, but in my case, it came to a point where I couldn't have a conversation with my family members about anything that I was feeling, that because it was always, if I'm saying what I'm feeling or what I'm thinking, it was always yes, 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 but you are wrong. You should change your way of thinking. It was always like that. It wasn't like, oh, interesting what you're saying. Let me think about this, or maybe we are the ones who need to make some changes. It was always, no, you're the problem. You're the one who needs to change. So you cannot really do anything with that, unfortunately. And sometimes, as much as you love people, it's best to keep your distance. And actually, now, like years later, I am on speaking terms with my dad, for example. Um, my mom is still a little bit. Um, I don't think it will ever be okay, simply because we are very, very different people. But I was able to have some tough conversations with my dad, and that was very rewarding, to be honest, because he reacted in ways that I don't think he would have reacted back then, which is interesting.
Wow.
Like, it goes to show you that people are capable of change. They just need to have the desire to do so.
Mhm.
And yeah, like today, I, I am a way like happier, at peace person that I could have ever been living in that environment. And still, like, every single friend that I have is really handpicked, to be honest. I don't
Yes.
have a lot of friends. I'm not saying like I have really 3 friends, I think.
Mhm.
It's very important to me who I surround myself with. Like, I rather be alone than be in the wrong company.
Yes.
And I had friends that I also like needed to put boundaries with. Like, I had a friend, for example, who also used to body check and always make comments about food and how much I'm eating and stuff like that. And I told her, like, listen, this is not acceptable. Can we please like talk about anything else? Also, like, wasn't ready to follow this boundary. So at a certain point I said, you know what, like, this is not working out. Like, it's very hard for me to be your friend if you're like insisting on still talking about these things, even though I asked you like to not. And yeah, it's just not worth it. Like you said, like, if something is the word triggering comes to my mind, but I'm actually somebody who doesn't like the idea of running away from triggers. I don't think
Yeah.
that like, if something is triggering us, then we should run away from it. But when we're talking about friends and you do ask them for something and they still are not like insisting on not following that, then there's only so much you can do, you know? Like, I'm not gonna go and like meet a friend and like, oh, is she gonna talk about this? Is she not? Let's see what she's gonna say. Like, yeah.
You've
So
you've made some really, really courageous decisions, like super courageous decisions, period, you know?
yeah.
Like, and I think normalizing having a smaller number of really good friends is so important. You know, I might be showing my age here, but I grew up watching shows like Friends. I know everyone still watches that
Mhm.
show, but like, that was on what, like, as I was growing up. And I feel like in TV and like, there's often this idea that it's healthy to have kind of like a larger group of friends and everything, and you're all going to be together all the time, and it's kind of going to be your crew and whatever. And I've just found that to be one of the most unhealthy ideas out there. Um, if that turns out to be the case, that you've got a larger group of people around you and you're a bit of a team. Like, I've experienced that in certain professional environments and everything like that, and it's cool. But I don't know if it's I don't know. I don't know how healthy it is to or how helpful it is to aim to have like a large number of close friends. This is just a really long way of saying I think we should really normalize having like a smaller number of good friends, because I did notice as I moved away from kind of greasing my groove through the world with drugs and alcohol, suddenly there were a bunch of people who I realized, like, wow, I actually cannot hang out with this person like sober. Like I can't,
Mm.
like I don't want to, I have, we have nothing to talk about. I have nothing to be. That was weird. I mean, not weird, but it was confronting, kind of realizing, wow, okay, so how many friends do I have who I could sit down with at any time of day sober and enjoy their company? The uncomfortable truth is actually not many. And I think it's a next level thing to need to draw those boundaries with family like you did. And it's a really courageous move to make.
Honestly, like, really, it's about your mental sanity
Hmm.
in the end. Um, it wasn't really for me, like, it was a lot of years of trying to have a conversation, and then at one point, really, I think I was 22 when I realized it's either me or them, like, which one is it gonna be? And I chose myself. Like, I couldn't be, like, this martyr of, like, "Oh, I'm staying home for my family because, oh, I'm such a great child, and but I'm struggling and I'm suffering." Like, no, I didn't wanna be that. For some people, this is okay. For me, it's like, I guess I always had this sense, like, my life is my life. I don't owe my life to anybody, and
Mm.
I think some parents do expect that from their kids, like, "You owe your life to me." Like,
Hmm.
I didn't choose to be born. Like, you made that choice. For the longest time, I really didn't. I had a great childhood in some aspects. In some aspects, was this kid wondering, "Am I adopted? Like, did they choose the wrong kid at the hospital?" Like, really, like, it was very, very hard childhood in that. So, yeah, like, everybody makes choices, and also the way you parent is a choice. But yeah, this is a very long conversation. Can
Yeah.
go in so many different directions. Yeah, what you said about friends, it's hard sometimes, to be honest with you, because I do sometimes lack having, like, friends that I could, like, hang out with and have nice conversations with, but friends are also, like, if we're talking about a show like Friends, like, these people hang out together 24/7.
Yeah,
Like,
which is kind of
I don't think
dysfunctional.
I have the capacity to do that. Yeah,
And like,
like,
if
if you wanna have this level of closeness.
I mean, if anyone out there listening to this has like a really tight group of friends like that you're with all the time and it's genuinely enriching, then that's like that's awesome. But I'm half joking, half serious when I say
Like, amazing, yeah, good
like
for
that's
you.
great. Half joking, half serious when I say there is another word for a group of people that can't be apart, and that is enmeshment. Like
That's true.
just as we wrap up today, Annabelle, thank you so much for sharing what you shared today and for suggesting this as a topic to chat about. Because yeah, tough choices they're going to come up, especially with our social circles and environment and social media. I know we all frame social media as something that's like, oh, it's hard to put down the phone. Like, oh, if I'm not on Instagram, how will I keep up with things? But really, 15 years ago, we didn't really have Instagram. Like, we've lived without social media before. I mean, some of us have, and I can promise, like, it's fine. Like, it's not not missing out on much. But that said, there are like other difficult decisions that we might need to be making, and they take a bit of courage. But if we can stay focused on smaller, kind of enriching things along the way, you don't need to make your journey into something that is this never ending slog. It is important to take your focus to really good things outside of what it is that you're making your way through. Even if it's like you said, a nice cup of coffee, just a moment of peace, whatever it might be. So, as we wrap this up today,
Yeah.
Annabelle, are there any kind of messages or anything that you would like to leave for anyone out there who might be staring down the barrel of some difficult choices?
I think it actually adds up a little bit to what you were talking about right now. I think there's a bit of loss of identity between the person who we were when we were struggling with binge eating or any kind of addiction to the person that we want to become, basically. Sometimes we are in this in between and we don't know what the hell is going on. And it's
Mm,
so easy to go back to the familiar because we know what to expect from it. And I think one of our biggest fears is the unknown, like not knowing what's gonna happen, especially a control freak like me. So just know that when you are in this in-between phase, like trust. I think this is the beautiful part they talk about in AA, like this trusting in a higher power of like everything's gonna be fine. Just that if you are taking care of yourself by stopping binge eating, by taking the steps to recovery, however messy that looks for you, however how many times you try and you fail and you get back out there again, however that looks, because I certainly like when I became sober, it wasn't like a one day thing. The moment you start taking those steps and you show yourself that you do care about yourself, that you do want to get better, that you do want a better life, trust that it does eventually work out. Like I promise, it does work out. Just when you are in this messy in between, just have faith. Like really think about what you want in life. Who are the people that you want to be surrounded with? Like really try to imagine yourself living that life, and I can assure you it will happen. Like if it's not exactly like you imagined, then it's somewhere pretty damn close to that and it's going to be amazing. So I'm not there yet, but I'm telling you, like the process of doing good by yourself is always rewarding, and it's way better than how you were living before in like deep in the struggle. So just allow yourself this time and be patient with yourself because really good things are happening.
thank you so much, Annabelle. It's an awesome note to end on. And thanks for sharing and
Thank you.
joining me today for this one.
Thank you. I'm like incredibly happy to be here. I wanted to say this in the beginning. I'm like super honored to be on this podcast. You have been a great friend in my recovery. You're I think one of the two podcasts that I listen to in my recovery, and like hearing your voice and your messages and the way you also interact with people on your podcast, it's so nice to hear. It's one of the reasons I listen. So thank you so much for being who you are and for putting your content out there and sharing your story. Like you're really doing a lot of good work that is needed. So thank you. And thank you for like I'm honored to be here.
Well, the pleasure and the honor is all mine. And thank you so much for all your kind words. It means the world to be making a difference. And for everyone listening, Annabelle has been doing amazing work with the YouTube editing. So, Annabelle is one of the reasons why this content is possible. If it was up to me to be just editing everything and recording everything and writing everything, I don't know if I'd be able to do it. Balancing a client diary and my one-to-one work with my clients. Obviously, link is in the description if you are looking for support. And on top of that, sometimes I'm not able to show up for the all the editing and the resource production and everything. So huge thank you to you, Annabelle, for helping with that and being here for that, because this content wouldn't be existing in the way it currently is without you.
Thank you. But it's my pleasure, really. It's been awesome working with you and supporting you. And I can't wait to see what else you do. I'm super
Well,
excited.
good stuff on the line. I mean, good stuff in the works for this year. So everyone stay tuned and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you.